We will always work to keep America safe, and we will always, always remember.
Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, of course, speaking at one of the many memorials around the nation today as we honor the victims of September 11th. 22 years later, the sounds, the pictures from that day remain so vivid, so horrific, and we remember the two victims that were just identified. And while the horror of that day remains frozen in history and in our hearts and minds, the death toll from illnesses related to the rescue and recovery efforts continuing to grow. 43 more names were added to the FDNY's memorial wall just this month. Nearly as many firefighters have now died from post-9/11 illnesses as the number killed on that terrible day, the day of the attack. And perhaps even more sobering, the amount of blank spaces reserved on the memorial wall for the expected deaths yet to come. Joining me now, former Ground Zero demolition worker John Feal, who has spent the past 2 decades burying his friends, advocating for health benefits for fellow 9/11 responders, and pleading with Congress. And former Homeland Security Secretary Jeh Johnson, of course, a member of the Board of Trustees at the 9/11 Memorial and Museum, and, of course, a former Pentagon official as well. John, your reflections 22 years later.
Well, that's exactly what today is. It's a day of reflection. It's a day to remember those that we lost to senseless violence. It's a day to remember those heroic firefighters and police officers that ran into the building and never came out. And today's not about politics. You know, that 341 firefighters, that number's a lot higher. That's only for active members of the fire department that they count that passed away. But thousands of firefighters that were retired, whether 2 years before 9/11 or 8 years, the city and the job begged them to come back and asked them to work next to their fellow co-workers who were still active. This Saturday on the 16th, we're going to add 360 names to our wall on Long Island. Many of them are retired firefighters. We're now over 3,000 first responders who passed away. We know of over 2,000 survivors that have passed away, and roughly about 6,000 people have died since 9/11 from the certified 9/11 related illness. We're a finite number, and we're getting decimated.
So, John, that's basically twice as many have died since.
Yeah.
From illnesses and from the effects
that we know
of this, those who died that day.
Sure, that we know of. You know, again, 27,000 plus people right now have a certified 9/11 related cancer. It's only getting worse. We're evolving for the worse. And, you know, the World Trade Center Health Program is doing as best it can. The Victims' Compensation Fund, administrated by the DOJ, is doing the best they can. But they need to evolve with us, and they need to get creative and think outside the box as these men and women, uniform and non-uniform, are getting older. And it's harder to help these men and women. Just age humbles you. Now we have these illnesses. And, you know, and I don't want to take up too much airtime because I want to hear the secretary speak.
Well, Jeh Johnson, I mean, you served as general counsel at the Pentagon during the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. You have a son in the military. You later took over as Homeland Security Secretary, so you've seen firsthand how threats to the homeland have changed and how the response has changed, the coordination. Are we safer today than we were then from foreign threats? And are the threats now domestic?
Well, first, Andrea, thanks for having me on, as always, on 9/11. I also want to compliment John on his good work and perseverance to highlight the issue. We're safer today, 22 years later, from the type of threat that I refer to as the foreign terrorist directed attack on our homeland. Through a lot of good counterterrorism efforts in multiple administrations, we have largely decapitated Al Qaeda and ISIS and their ability to launch a large-scale homeland attack here in the United States. But these groups have morphed and metastasized. There are different kinds of threats right now. Certainly the threat of severe weather events due to climate change, I'd put up there. And frankly, the very erosion of our democracy, which we see day to day, which leads to polarization and the inability to get things done, like help first responders from 9/11. And so the threats have evolved very significantly, and it's the responsibility of those in Homeland Security and in national security to always try to stay one step ahead of us, and one step ahead of these threats. But on a day like today, I think it's the obligation of every American to remember the heroism that occurred 22 years ago and to remain vigilant. You know, it's every time every time this day rolls around, I think like today, virtually today, everyone under the age of 22 was not alive on 9/11. But it's the responsibility of us who were around on 9/11, who still have those vivid memories, to remind all the rest of us about the heroism of that day and the responsibility of those of us in national security, public safety, to remain vigilant.
And Mr. Secretary, you're leading a task force, a national task force to rebuild trust in American democracy. And you alluded to this, but I mean, even with budget gridlock and the fact of a government shutdown looming, those are threats to our democracy, threats to our national security.
Right. They are, in the sense that if a government is unable to effectively respond to an attack, to a crisis, to a threat stream, that in and of itself, in my judgment, is a threat to our national security and our homeland security.
John, you're one of the heroes in my book, in anybody's book. The Secretary alluded to it. You, Jon Stewart, the way you went to Congress fighting for the responders, for veterans. Talk to me about the meaning of today to you. You have gone to so many funerals.
Yeah, I've been to about 204 funerals. And soon the 9/11 Museum will display them in a case. You know, today's not only a day of reflection, today's about giving of yourself. And while John and I have given of ourselves over the last 2 decades, not just on 9/11, everybody has a chance to reach out and lend a shoulder or open their arms. And, you know, a hug goes a long way today. Some kind words go a long way today. And today is a day where we should put aside our religions, our politics, just like we did 22 years ago, and just not only be Americans, but be human beings towards each other and just say hello to a stranger.
That's such a timely reminder. I'm thinking of the FBI men and women who died that day because their headquarters was in one of the towers. And I want to thank you both for your service, thinking of the service of Jeh Johnson and his wife's son and all the military. And we'll be right back.